Good afternoon. Good weekend. Good travel and good outcome of the game. And so excited for our players. Travel down to Western Illinois, down to Macomb, and get the W. Convincing win was good. And now we have to turn our attention to Southern Illinois. Nick Hill does a really good job down there. And with them having a bye week, I anticipate there'll be some things that will either be new or things that they have not ran very often this year that we're going to have to be prepared for or make some adjustments on the sideline. They're always well prepared. They're very physical on defense. They fly around. You turn them on film and you immediately can tell they got some good athletes. They have a veteran quarterback, Nick Baker, coming back, who I think probably has about as much moxie as any quarterback in our league right now, or any of the quarterbacks we've played. He throws it from about every different arm slot possible. Takes very few negative plays, finds open receivers, and so it'll be a challenge. They got a great group of receivers. The Cox brothers, are really deep ball threats, but also not afraid to go across the middle. They have a tight end that's kind of come about here over the last I've seen him over the last couple games. Jacob Garrett is his name, number 43, big physical kid. Does a nice job. Then on defense, I really like that Richie Haggerty, young man who plays defensive end for him. I believe he was a Bowling Green transfer at one point, but they do a nice job. 4-2-5. They know what they're doing, and they're not afraid to bring an extra piece. Single dog or even, bringing 6 and playing cover 1 behind, or bringing 5 and playing cover 1, or even a little bit of 0 at different times. So on both sides of the ball, there's going to be a challenge that's presented by Southern Illinois. And again, another road game, which I'm okay with. Road games are good. I think they continue to help your team develop some continuity and grow together. And this will be a big one for us this week.
Just kind of your reaction to how well you guys handled the conditions out there in Macomb. Obviously, some interesting football weather out there, but just kind of getting outside this late in the year. How good do you think that was for you guys?
I think it's really good. I think anytime we can play outside is a positive. We practiced the majority of Tuesday, Wednesday outside last week. Thursday was just too windy to have a productive practice, especially offensively. And I think that helps us getting outside. We even did some wet ball drills just in case the rain, which kind of finished up in the morning, but originally the forecast had the rain through the game. But it was windy. It wasn't only us. I mean, talking to friends in the Big Ten region, it sounded like the wind was everywhere and it impacted all the games. But we kind of had an idea. We followed the Weather Channel, the weather apps, and we knew that the wind was going to be anywhere between 20 and 30 miles an hour. We knew it would impact passing game, special teams, and so we just tried to prepare for it the best we could. And we knew if the wind got to a certain point, we're going to have to lean on our run game. And I thought our kids up front did a really good job.
Able to go from throwing the ball 30 times the previous week to running the ball 50 times the next week. What does it say about this group of guys that they're able to make that switch?
Well, I think it says a lot about our coaches and how we set up practice. I think we're extremely balanced in practice. We practice a lot of things that sometimes never even make it to Saturday just because, one, maybe there's not a need for it, or the timing just isn't right for it. But, again, we're still a line of scrimmage dominated football program, and for us to be able to run the football 50-plus times is outstanding. And, I think we only probably called in about 8 to 9 pass plays during the course of the game, which, we thought we could utilize some of our moving pocket stuff, and we did, but I think our quarterbacks took off and ran with it a couple times.
Last week, you guys were putting an emphasis on defense, getting more turnovers. This week, it seemed like that carried over. What were your takeaways from the defensive performance?
Well, it's one of those things you never count on, but you love it when they happen. You continue to preach it. You continue to talk about it in practice. You continue to emphasize it. Strips, finishing on the ball when you get an opportunity to in practice. And those things are starting to carry over into Saturday. Hopefully we can continue to do that. This is going to be a critical week where we need to find a way to get an extra possession, get off the field against a very good Southern Illinois football team.
You saw the first start for Nick Baker in the spring a couple years ago. How has he changed as a quarterback from then to what you see now?
Well, I think he's very comfortable in the pocket. He can scramble. Where he becomes really dangerous, and he's dangerous in all aspects of their offense. But what I've noticed is his ability to scramble through the A and B gap and then get rid of the football before he crosses the line of scrimmage. And that's tough on defenses because all of a sudden you see a guy who you think's leaving the pocket, but he hasn't left the pocket and he's still, eligible to throw it. And it puts you in a little bit of a mix. And they do some nice things with their RPO game. There seems like there's always a safety net, a check down that he seems to find, and he doesn't get rattled. Well coached out of high school, knew of him then, and Nick's done a great job continuing that development here at Southern Illinois.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, his head coach called him unconventional. He's 5'9". Is that different?
And I think I kind of alluded to that a little bit with just some of the arm slots you see him throw. I mean, if there's a guy in his face, he'll underhand it, he'll throw it sidearmed, he'll throw it over the top. He just kind of has that competitive edge to him, and he's been a winner. Going back all the way to high school days, and I anticipate he's going to be very well prepared this week. Them having a bye week, we're going to have to make sure we have a really good 3-4 days here coming up.
Just describe the play of Courtney Eubanks. I think he got his first career interception, but I mean, obviously he's been a solid player for you throughout the year. What do you like about the way he's playing now? And I guess how important is a guy like that against a team like Southern Illinois?
Well, anytime you have a team who part of their offensive identity is throwing some RPOs, you're going to have to be really good in the back end because they're going to get your conflicted players or your run-fitting players conflicted at different times, and we need to make sure we stay on top of some routes, and we can't give up explosives against Southern Illinois. But Courtney's done a good job. He continues to work on his craft. He continues to work on his fundamentals and technique. The thing that I've noticed probably in the last month or so is his physicality has continued to increase. His willingness to be a physical tackler, to go contest throws and to reroute and to use what we call sometimes a SAP technique and really get physical with receivers is good. That tells me he's playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Sometimes difficult to glean a lot from a game like that where your defense isn't really threatened by the pass because it's blowing 40. Your offense can't really pass because it's blowing 35. I mean, is it tough to get a decent evaluation from Saturday's tape?
Well, I think you take it for what it's worth. Up front, did we communicate? Did we sustain pad level? What was our fundamentals like? And so I think you can gather some things. Probably holistically, you can't just look at the big picture, run pass, were we balanced, and do you have a great evaluation of your pass game? Probably not, but it does provide some things. And then just the number of young people. I think we played every single player minus one. So probably 62 to 63 players played for us. There's a lot of evaluation of the young kids that were out there. I mean, you saw, I'll throw it out there. Finn Diggins probably played 19 snaps, 20 snaps. I mean, those are critical for his development. So, yeah, maybe when it comes down to a guy like Cody Mauk, maybe the evaluation's pretty quick. But when it comes down to a guy like Finn Diggins or Mason Miller, who still just kind of played left tackle a little bit this week, and again, just throwing him into a different spot, making him uncomfortable when we can. And so I think there's some good evaluation that comes from it. Maybe not the starters, but there's a lot of people that played.
Your kind of take on Mason, obviously, Gray goes in for him the game prior. How did you feel like he responded?
Much improved. Played with better pad level. Had better, from what I saw, better communication. Played within himself. One of and I've talked to Mason about it, so I'm not too concerned about bringing it up. One of the things with Mason is, for the last year, he's tried to compare himself to a guy who used to play here, and Mason has finally realized that's unfair, Mason. You're 19, 20 years old. You can't compare yourself. You need to just be the best Mason Miller you can be. And it's hard to tell someone who's very competitive and wants to fill those shoes. He needs to bring his own shoes and, like I said, be the best version of himself.
We're 67 for the Bengals.
You're exactly right.
I mean, I know injury played a role in it, but it just seems Tamarick Williams is the guy who just kind of gets rolling late in the year. What about it? Is it the running style? Just what about him?
Well, 230 pounds, 6'1". I mean, literally, that's a big cat rolling through there now, and you got to bite down on your mouthpiece if you want to tackle him. So he does. It's a different tempo. It's a change of pace at the running back position. Kobe's a very physical back, being 5'10", 190, but all of a sudden you bring in someone who's 3 inches taller and 40 pounds heavier and has the ability to put a foot in the ground, make you miss, but also run through a lot of arm tackles. That's a benefit for us, and it allows us to utilize a ton of different people back at that tailback spot.
I mean, Carbondale history was made, not to your benefit.
Right.
Any recall on that for your players?
I'm sure plenty of them will bring it up, or at least internally think about it. I don't think I need to.
The 2020 team that would have probably played them down at Carbondale if it wasn't delayed.
Sure.
How good was that team? Now that you have a couple years to think about it, how good would that team would have been?
That's the $1 million question. I'm extremely biased, and you guys all know that. I think that team would have been really good. Just the makeup of it, the leadership that was there, coming off the 2019 team, I think there was still plenty of people that were plenty hungry. And the hunger started with that game with Oregon, but I think it would have permeated throughout the entire season. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. You guys know that.
The only game of the week, and you're trying to go 1-0, but the stakes, knowing full well you take care of business and what's set up for the last game of the season and potential playoffs. How do you address that, knowing what's at stake for Saturday?
Talk 1-0 is all we're going to address it right now, because this is the biggest one of the year for us, because it's the next one, and so it would be disrespectful, I think, to Nick and to his team if we started even to think about things beyond Saturday.
Second game back, I know first game, you said, conditioning was maybe a little bit of a factor. How do you feel it performing in the second game back, and where do you see him,
I thought he did well. I thought he played well. I would say I thought there might have been a tackle or two that he probably wasn't in great body position for, but I think that's kind of getting back into the swing of playing football and playing as many snaps as he did. I anticipate we'll continue to try to push his snap count a little bit, but also push him into some special teams roles as well.
Talk about Brandon Westber. He's at a month of starts now.
Yep. We're fortunate. Brandon played a ton for us last year. Started probably a handful of games, if I remember right, for Jalen in 2021. So for us to have a veteran and composed center to play for us is really pretty special, and really we're pretty fortunate to have someone with his experience that can come in. He does a great job, and probably when you're a center, the mark that you're doing well is that nobody ever talks about you, and so he does his job. He executes the exchange with Cam and our quarterbacks, and is integral in the communication piece for all protections, run game, all that. So to have a sharp kid like him, filling in for Jalen right now, like I said, we're extremely fortunate.
Quickly, the conversation back to Cole. When he is 100%, do you see potentially a different position? It just seems like with Sam or something, just
Sure.
Because you've got Logan, you've got Kays, you got Cole, it's hard to rotate three guys at one spot.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, isn't it? Yep. I think you'll see him settling into a certain spot right now. But as you saw on Saturday, we started to make some moves with Logan. Kopp played 25 snaps of Mike linebacker for us, and so had a big pick at the end in cover two. So, again, if we can get guys to have multiple tools in their tool chest, instead of being just limited to one position, I think it provides them the ability to help us even more. But I think Wiz can play both Will and Sam equally effective. Don't know how much we'd want to have him just playing man coverage right now. Is he back well enough to do that?